Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening.
Check, check, check. Can you hear me? Nope, still can't hear me. Let me see. Oh, wait, that should be better. Can you hear me now? Can't hear me still. Good now. Thank you, Lord Racer. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. That's the beauty of live stream. All kinds of technical difficulties we figure out on the fly. But yeah, like as I was saying, this is episode 2 of the Company Man Show. 1 second applause for you all for joining. And this is again, fulfillment of a goal I've had over the past year, which was to start recording. Normally my process is I record for an hour every day, right? And so this is the fulfillment of the intention of starting to do that, which was to start doing an hour, do a live show every day, whether it's an hour, whether it's 2 hours, cover the stories live with you all. And so thank you guys for bearing with me, especially with the technical difficulties. I'm still getting used to this platform. I'm still getting used to the schedule. I'm not sure if I'm going to lock in on this particular time yet. I'm trying to find the best time. Last time, I think I went live at like 5 p.m., I want to say. We're at 3 p.m. now. Maybe it's a morning show. You guys let me know in the comment section what you guys think about the best time to go live. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with this yet. But I do have some exciting things planned with this platform right now. I'm just kind of getting in the groove of it. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and get started with today's show. Big shout out to everybody in the comment section. Big shout out to everybody who's been rocking with me on various platforms for over the course of my career. And big shout out to everyone who's willing to continue to grow and evolve as we tend to do over here on the Company Man YouTube channel. Big shout out to everybody in the Discord. If you'd like to join our Discord, we've got a super active Discord community. We have our top 100 albums that will be coming out soon. So we're going to be talking about that in the upcoming future. And then I have a couple other announcements I'll be making before the year is over. So without further ado, 9 second applause to you all. Word up. All right. Really interesting show today. Really interesting show. One, I'm in love with this De La Soul album. It's official. It's happening in real time. I didn't get a chance to listen to it until maybe Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. And so that was the first time I really sat down and listened to this project, sort of as background music. First couple of listens were background music more so than anything else. I listened to it today in the gym. And it's just a really, really almost emotional listen for longtime De La Soul fans. I'm sure many of you would agree with me. There's a roll call in the beginning, and everyone, it's actually really dope. So at the beginning, there's a roll call, like in class, like a roll call in class. And Giancarlo Esposito, my man that I wish would play Professor X in X-Men, but my homeboy from Breaking Bad, he does a roll call of everybody that's featured on the album. And at the end, the last one he says, you know, is Dave here? And it's really an emotional moment to start this project because Dave Trugoy, the Dove, passed away in 2023, I think it was 23. He passed away recently. And so De La Soul, plug 1, plug 2, and plug 3 have lost plug 2. And so this is their first project that they've been putting out, that they've put out since his passing. And overall, this is their 10th album, right? And so that is the backdrop to the energy that's behind this album, this release. I'm going to do a more focused review on this or conversation around it. I'm not going to do that here today, but I do want to give you guys a chance to hear a couple of things that De La Soul has said on this press run. This has been the year of the rollout. We've got Clips had a great rollout. I think Cardi B had a great rollout this year. You know, we've got the whole Legend Has It series with Mass Appeal. Big shout out to Mass Appeal. 1 second applause. All those projects have been rolled out in a really, really dope way. People have been critical of Wale's rollout. I actually feel pretty good about Wale's rollout. We had a whole bunch of freestyles leading up to the release. We had him on multiple R&B projects. He was on Leon Thomas's project, for example. His project lived up to the expectation, probably surpassed the expectations more than anything else. I mean, I think this personally is Wale's best project, and I think the rollout has been part of that as well. There's a song with Wale and Leon Thomas. I think it's called Watching Us. It's like Kissing in the Club. Throwback to Kissing in the Club. 1 second applause to anybody who remembers Kissing in the Club. But the song itself is they're going to impact that at radio on early January. And so like the music is people are responding to the music quite a bit. My favorite song on the Wale project is Mirror on the Bench. Love that joint. Love that joint. 1 second applause. And so I think that's another great rollout that's taking place this year. And De La Soul's project is part of the Year Has It series. And so what they have really done a great job of is talk to everybody. They've been talking to all kinds of people here recently. And so we'll take a look at a couple of things that they've said. But I do want to highlight a couple of paragraphs from this review here. Okay, so actually, before we get that, we'll share this one, actually. We'll actually share this time. Well, yeah, okay, so here we go. And we'll take a look at this. We'll share this tab instead. You guys got that? Let's see. All right, so here's the album, just so you guys can get a look at the track list. It is 20 tracks long. Doesn't feel like it. It moves really quick. It features Giancarlo Esposito, as I mentioned earlier, Yummy Bingham from Much More, which was on the Grind Date album. Probably my favorite De La album between Grind Date. I think that's probably my favorite one, at least right now. Yummy Bingham's back on here. Killer Mike's on this project. Jay Farrow and Gareth Duncan are on here. Yukimi's on here. Q-Tip's on here. Nas is on here. Nas has a great verse. Nas has had, if you really look at Nas's output in 2025, right? He's been on every Legend Has It series album, right? So that's a lot of Nas verses. And then he still has the DJ Premier Nas album coming December 12th. 1 second applause to that. That date has finally been locked in. But he's on the album as well. Another great verse from Nas here. Pete Rock is on production. Jake One is on here. Let's see. Black Thought is on this project. Slick Rick Common's on this project. Bilal's on the project. So it's loaded. It is a loaded project, right? So I do want to shout out this this review here. Okay, so this is HHGA, right? And so they, you know, it's funny. It's funny being a former editorial guy. I don't want to say former. I'm still an editorial guy, but it's funny being an editorial person, right? Because the way media has evolved over the course of our lives, right? You know, I think now we're in a space where it's just difficult to find editorialized content on hip hop. And I laugh because I never thought I'd be saying that. You know what I mean? You can find it quite a bit on YouTube. Don't get me wrong. People are interacting with things in a different capacity. But if you go to traditional hip hop websites, most of them are moving everything to social media. Maybe you get an album review quarterly now. Album reviews a lot of times can be loss leaders because if you diss somebody's project, a lot of times it's difficult for that advertiser to want to spend money on your publication. But just the number of ideas aren't showing up with the written word in the same way anymore. And so a lot of times when I look at reviews, I end up looking at what people outside of mainstream music media are talking about, right? And so this one actually I really appreciated. It's from HHGA staff on Cabin in the Sky. I'm gonna read the first paragraph so you guys can get another sense, first two paragraphs so you guys can get a sense of the project again, or at least the first paragraph, and then the last paragraph. So here's what it says. Over 35 years after redefining what rap albums could sound like. Very true. Very, very true, right? That's the thing I really like about this album, Cabin in the Sky, right? One is another thing that I like about De La's catalog overall. But in this landscape, this project brings back a lot of like, you know, just quirkiness and unexpected sample flips and a variety of soundscapes that I only really think about when I think about De La, but definitely have been more common in years past. And so their whole career has been redefining what a rap album can sound like. Their entire approach to it, the whole Daisy Age, Daisy era, being a part of Native Tongues, the entire collective was pushing them out, pushing the margins, pushing the boundaries. And this project does a good job of that too. After redefining what rap albums could sound like, feel like, and talk about, De La Soul returned with Cabin in the Sky, a record shaped by grief, gratitude, and the stubborn creative spark that carried them from Long Island basements to global influence. It is their 10th studio album, their first since 2016's and the Anonymous Nobody, and the first made in the absence of Dave Trugoy the Dove, who passed in 2023. That absence is the album's weight and its pulse. Posthumous and Maceo approached the material with the kind of reverence, but also with humor, looseness, and adventurous spirit that defined the group in their earliest era. This is not a memorial cast in stone. It's a living record full of movement, reflection, and the joy of creation. 1 second applause. Apt description to me. That's exactly what this feels like. And I think it's also a really fresh listen for people who might not be De La Soul fans. You're not going to find anything in the marketplace currently right now that really captures the range of emotions that they described here, but also captures the sonic experimentation that De La Soul has always been known for, right? And so they go through track by track. And then here's the end, right? It says, Cabin in the Sky does not behave like a farewell. It behaves like a continuation, an album where loss does not ease vitality, where evolution does not erase history, where two surviving members carry the third with affection and purpose. It is patient, warm, layered, and full of craft. It rewards full attention, not background listening. And above all, it reinforces the idea that De La Soul's creativity never depended on novelty. It depended on the bond between three artists who built something larger than themselves and learned how to keep it alive, even when life rearranged the pieces. Powerful ending. And they gave it 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. 9 second applause. So I'll put a link to this in the description whenever this goes live. Or I guess it's live now. I'll put a link in the description at some point in time. But I thought that those two paragraphs really give people who may not be familiar with De La Soul, who may not know the story behind this project, just a quick primer on what we're experiencing with their latest release, Cabin in the Sky. Right now, it's my favorite release from the Legend Has It series. And the series overall has been super tight. And this one right now is standing out to me in a major way. So big shout out to De La Soul. And so here is a De La Soul did 5 questions. 5 questions with De La Soul. Now, I had an issue last week when I was trying to figure out how to do share the audio. And so let's see if we can do a better job of this week. Let's see.
Describe the album in 3 words.
You'll love it.
Can you guys hear that? Let me know if you guys can hear that.
Joy, pain, therapeutic.
Around the song Run It Back, what is a memory that you would like to run it back?
I would like to run back seeing my mom. My mom passed away when I was really young, so I would like to run back just, seeing her. And
I feel you on that, man. I wish I could run back and see my mom too. 1 second applause for my mom. And Pasa's mom.
being more mindful of, being a better, less devilish choice here.
Who, in your opinion, are legends in the making when it comes to hip hop?
Legends in the making. Who do you think they're going to say?
For me
Might surprise you. It actually might surprise you.
personally, he's already there, and I think people will try to, not debate it, but they will want to see a little bit more time. But I think a legend, without question, is Tyler the Creator. He is legendary. He is so tapped into his
Tyler the Creator. 1 second applause, Tyler the Creator.
his bass. He's just lovable. He's truly an artist. He loves the art, and he understands how he fits in the space of pop culture. He's an absolute legend.
I don't know if people put him there, but I say J. Cole.
Yeah.
I put him in the same space.
J. Cole. Man, everything was going great for J. Cole till he named his album The Fall Off.
Tomato.
I wish he just didn't do that. Just change the album. Change the album title. It's not too late, Cole. It's not too late. Detox never came out. No one talks about it anymore.
You guys have a song called Good Health. What are some good health tips that you've picked up or some that you want to tell the people about?
For me, some good health tips that I know me for myself doing. I would love to see others do is like I do a lot. I eat a lot of fruits. Just really try to keep my body as alkaline as possible. Take a lot of different herbs. I take black seed oil every day, every night, as well with oil of oregano, and I think it just helps cleanse my body and keep me in a good space.
Get rest.
Get rest.
Get plenty of rest.
Love that. Meditate.
Not so important. And definitely meditate. Take like a half hour to yourself before you touch a device or anything like that, or wrap your mind around anything. Just meditate.
For the soul, you don't stop.
Later in a later block, there's a meditation related component to it. I think it's so funny. We'll come back to that.
What are some affirmations that you say to yourself, or some things that you live by?
I live by keeping my area, my life, my field away from negativity. I do not stop and hang out around negative people. You will not see me around it at all.
From the song "You Don't Stop" is doing my best to continue my brother's legacy.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Once I get plus, I rock with that. I rock with that heavy. I like that though, because I too live by different meditations, as you guys know. It's all happening. That's one of them. A lot of times people think that that's just an esoteric thing, but it's also a list, and then it's a reminder that whether things are good or bad, or whether I feel positively or negatively about something, that's just part of the journey. 2, thoughts are physical. It's all about your mental mind state. What did Riley say on the Boondocks? It's all about your mental mind. It's all about your mental mind, as Riley would say. 1 second applause. I say that all the time. And I have to remind myself that nothing starts off dope. Nothing starts off dope. It's he who endures who wins. And so, as you can see with these struggle live streams so far, we're taking steps in the right direction. Everything gets a little bit better over the course of time. It's all happening. 1 second applause. Now, here is one more thing on De La Soul here. And so this conversation, this took place with Ambrosia for Heads. Right. And so, hold on a second. There we go. So this took place with Ambrosia for Heads. And so they sat down with Reggie. Big shout out to Reggie. 1 second applause. Friends of the channel. I've done a lot of work with Ambrosia for Heads over the years. We actually collaborated on this particular interview here with Reggie. Just to me, from a hip hop standpoint, like they don't update the blog as often as they used to, but their social media is crazy when it comes to just like quintessential hip hop content, right? Staying away from the news, the seedy news cycle that happens in this space, stays away from all the drama and just really reports on what's happening with the artist, really reports on what's happening inside the albums. It's one of my favorite publications ever, and I think they do the best at that in the space. 1 second applause. And so this clip here, this is them talking about what it was like working with Nas and everybody that's a part of the Legend Has It series. All right, so let's take a look at this.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So
Let me know if you can hear
as
that.
we're wrapping up, you mentioned Nas. I personally think the verse y'all got from him is the best I've heard this year, like out of all the joints so far. So he definitely went in his bag for y'all. But what was it like to work in the presence of so many legends? Because I know you guys were all in a studio together at times. Raekwon, Ghost, Nas, all these folks. What was it like, and how did that impact your guys' process?
Well, for me, it's just it's reaffirming. It's humbling because the names you can name. Mace can jump in at any time and say the same thing. Like these dudes, like they get wide-eyed and kiddish around us. Like they're like, they'll start talking about, Ghost will start talking about our skits.
I can't believe the shit they like from us. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, the conversation about music is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Talking with them,
because people love your stuff. We kind of feel that, but when you hear it, and then when you see Nas is talking about plug tuning, it's like wow, like word. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just great. Like in that part of it,
right? To know Rakim like Saturdays. You know what I mean? To know that Cameron, like I know I love you better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm like, I think they say Afro Connections or something like that. You know what I mean? But you know, so it's interesting the things that they like from us. You know, versus what they create themselves.
yeah, and it was dope when we was in the
I mean,
studio.
that's a really good point, right? I mean, if you look at the Legend Has It series, you got Ray and Ghost. They're both from Wu-Tang, same cipher. You got Big L. You got Mobb Deep. These are street records. These are artists known more so for a particular type of street hip hop sound. And here's De La Soul, who is probably one of the most eclectic groups of all time. A group that never actually broke up, which is unheard of. Everybody breaks up. At some point, everybody wants to go see what they can do on their own. One of the most eclectic groups ever. And they're sitting there with Ray and Ghost and Havoc and everyone telling them the stuff that they like. And you could really see how surprising it was to them. And there's another conversation, I don't think they say necessarily in this one, where they talk about how that forced them to step their game up. And they did a fantastic job on this project. I'd recommend anybody take a listen to this. If you haven't heard it yet, punch yourself in the face. 1 second applause to De La Soul. All right, let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section. I'm going to post these clips from this live stream separately. And so I guess you guys probably have seen that over the course of the week on the channel. But I just wanted to make sure I said something about this De La Soul project before too much time went past, because I'm definitely going to write about it. It's definitely going to be in my Revolt. At least I'm going to submit it for my Revolt year-end list on top albums. But there's one lyric on this album that's been standing out to me all day. As we move into this next story, by the way, it's this lyric from the project, right? And I tweeted this out. And here's what it says. It says, "I'm sick of following the masses. I'm sick of giving up game to niggas failing classes." And that's one of the things that Black Thought said on this project. And I just thought that was freaking crazy, because this next story is one of the most disappointing things I've ever seen. I'm not sure if I'm surprised to where I've seen it, but Juelz Santana, Juelz Santana, Dipset fame. It's an interesting time for Dipset now that I think about this, right? Like Max B got out, right? 1 second applause to Max B. But I guess Jim Jones isn't all the way happy about it. Maybe they'll make amends. 1 second applause to making amends. You've got the Jim Jones Cameron stuff that was happening. Dipset's all over the place, and yet I feel like they're more omnipresent than they might have been in a very long time. I mean, what Cam and Mace are doing is really great. Jim Jones, to me, is better than he's ever been. Max B's out now, and now you got Juelz Santana. Juelz Santana shows up, and he goes on a podcast, and they ask him, what's more important, reading or math? Okay. Now, let's take a look at what Jim Jones has to say. Let me put this on the screen. Yeah, here we go. All right, so here's Juelz Santana. Here's what Juelz Santana, when they ask him. This is crazy.
And I think that shit gonna take over.
Nah, but seriously though,
Right?
G shit though, we gotta start teaching our kids though, just financial wealth and literacy and all that shit early, because by the time they get to 9th grade, they should be just learning how to start businesses and how to.
Okay, now I'm not mad at how he starts. I think there should be more financial literacy classes in school. I think that's a great thing. I think it's good for people to understand what it takes to start a business and how to do that. But if you pay attention closely, my man right here just said, "Oh yeah, but what about reading?" So check this out.
Businesses and how to, but they don't really need to know how to read.
Wait, stop.
The kids don't need to learn how to read.
Tomato.
And
Tomato.
I'm gonna start this over so you can hear this one more time.
And I think that shit gonna take over.
Nah, but seriously though,
Right?
G shit though, we gotta start teaching our kids though, just financial wealth and literacy and all that shit early, because by the time they get to 9th grade, they should be just learning how to start businesses and
You also need to read to be able to start a business, Juelz.
how to. But they don't really need to know how to read.
Wait,
to
stop.
survive. I ain't gonna say that. I say that respectfully. I'm not saying that in a way to be literate, because you're not supposed to be.
I'm saying that respectfully. I'm not saying that in a way to be literate. I'm saying that. I'm sorry. Where is Aaron Magruder when you need him?
Tomato.
I say that respectfully. I'm not saying that in a way to be literate, because you're not supposed to be illiterate, but you can.
What's more important, reading or math?
Math.
Told you.
Math. I think you could get a. You could.
My man looks so confident. Told you. look at his face. He said, "Told you."
Reading or math?
Math.
Told you.
Math. I think you could get a. You could listen to a book on YouTube. You can still obtain the information.
And
you don't have
understand.
to know how to read. That's not reading and understanding. I believe common sense is better than everything. I'm a common sense nigga.
I'm sorry. My man hype manning over here to the right of the screen. Oh my gosh.
Tomato.
Information. You don't have to know how to read. That's not reading and understanding. I believe common sense is better than everything. I'm a common sense nigga. I'd rather have zero book smarts and common sense, be able to read the room, be able to read life, be able to read people. I try to understand people, you know what I'm saying? Like, nowadays, you can listen to a book. I just listen to the 48 Laws of Power. Not to,
You gotta read
listen.
your contract, Els.
You don't have to. You can listen to that too. They got apps you can put it in and it'll read it to you. Are you
This is one of the saddest things I've ever seen. This is one of the saddest things I've ever seen. We're gonna keep going.
crazy? It probably will. AI will now. That's what I'm saying.
He looks so sincere. He looks so sincere. Like, I thought this was a joke the first time I saw it. I thought they were like playing around. And then because I only saw a piece of the clip. And then I looked at it, I'm like, oh, this nigga's serious.
And that's how freaky.
You don't think he cooking?
Have to read. Shit could be told to you.
It'll be so.
Just
I'm not
math.
saying that in a bad way. Like you don't need to know how to
menu at a
read.
restaurant.
Floyd Mayweather don't read that shit.
You at a restaurant. Like, it's mad shit you gotta read.
You saying that? You just gotta know what you like.
You know what I want.
You ain't gotta read the restaurant. You can just say, "What is this? A steak joint? I want steak, nigga. I want what y'all steak come with? What y'all got? When the waiter come,
Reading way more important.
when the waiter come, you be like, what come?"
This is really bad.
In a bad way.
This is crazy. I looked at this and I was like, yo, this is one of the saddest things I've ever seen. Like legitimately, I was very disappointed when I saw this. Now, away from just like broader things about Juelz Santana, like firstly, in my opinion, I feel like Juelz Santana has probably underachieved more than everyone else in Dipset. Hey, if you look at the excitement that was around Juelz projects in the early 2000s, when you looked at the travesty that we never got the Juelz Santana, Lil Wayne, I can't see your face. I can't feel my face. I think that's what it's supposed to be called, right? We were supposed to, really, really have an era of Juelz Santana, and that just didn't work out. Just didn't work out the way it was supposed to. Now, I'm not saying that's because he's not reading. I don't know if he can read or not. But what this really stands out to me more than anything else is that's basically been the mantra that a lot of, I don't even want to call it mainstream, but part of the shifting political environment over the past 15 years, excuse me, has been talking and emphasizing STEM over everything else. STEM almost at the cost of everything else, right? And I'm a finance major. Okay, my dad's an engineer. Okay, my mom's a teacher. My dad's an engineer, right? I understand the importance of being able to do math and all the quantitative things that come along with STEM, right? I get it. I 100% get it. Right. And this has been pushed, not necessarily even just from the media itself. There's been a lot of think tanks and different realms of academia that's talked about how important STEM is. Right. And so that's really what's been happening over the past 15 years. And now we're in a very weird place, especially when you put COVID on top of that. You're starting to see things that I've never thought I'd see before. I never thought I would see my friends who are professors at colleges talk about how they have students who watch everything on TikTok. They have students who are used to looking at things on YouTube, and they have no experience reading long form text. They can't even get through a book in the same way. So colleges have had to adjust how they're teaching students. Like, here's a story here. This is from the Atlantic. The elite college students who can't read books. This is what's happened. We have elite college students who can't read books. Everything has been about STEM and technology. It's all been about STEM and technology for so long. And now in institutions of higher education, you have kids, you have teachers who have to adjust their curriculum because the students don't have this type of experience. Now, some of that starts in the home, but some of it starts with, just the nature, the evolution of technology. Some of it's because of COVID, right? Like, you had a bunch of kids who couldn't go to school for significant portions of their formative years. And then now they got to graduate or whatever. And now they get to college. They're like, wait a minute, this book has 400 pages. There's no pictures here. How am I supposed to get through this? And so colleges are now adjusting to that. And they're offering courses that help students learn how to read through long form text, because STEM is all that matters, right? I was talking to, he's been on this channel actually, Double O from Kids in the Hall. He's Jabari Evans, Dr. Jabari Evans. 1 second applause. He's a noob too. He's a professor at the University of South Carolina. And he teaches, for his classes, he had to completely rearrange his curriculum to find ways to connect with students who just haven't been in an environment where they've had to value reading. Shout out to Professor Skies. Professor Skies shared similar anecdotes with me too. There was a story in, I think it's UConn, and there's a student, let me see this. Let me see if I can find this. This is live, so maybe I can just find it live. But there's a story in UConn. Let's see, UConn student sues school district. Yeah, here it is. Here's the story. Check this out. I thought this was insane when I saw this. It says, UConn student sues Hartford school system after graduating high school illiterate.
Tomato.
There is an epidemic around this, to the point where this woman went to UConn, found out she couldn't read, and is now suing the Hartford school system.
Tomato.
This is crazy. Check this out. A University of Connecticut student is suing the city of Hartford, the Hartford Board of Education, and her special education case manager, claiming they neglected her learning disabilities and inflicted emotional distress. Right. And okay, so this is like a specialized situation, right? But a lot of this comes from December 2024, Ortiz filed a complaint in court. The case is scheduled to appear in court today, and according to the Connecticut Judicial website, right? There's all kinds of stories like this all over the place, where for different situations, people are showing up at college prepared to pay all that money, and they can't read. They can't read, right? And so again, I look at all this stuff as being promoted about, okay, well, we know the future's in technology, we know the future's in coding and all this stuff. Well, let me tell you something, man. If you don't know how to code by now, you missed the boat, because AI will do that for you. AI is now coding for you. You can use AI right now to design your website. So that STEM aspect of it isn't even offering the same amount of opportunities as it used to. And people are being warned by that left and right, right? But here's the other side of it. We just had an election, and people were very happy for who they voted for. And now they're seeing the results of that, and they're saying stuff like, I didn't vote for this. I didn't know this was going to happen. Right. And people, the whole platform, Project 2025, all that stuff has been out there. It's all out there. Right. But people don't necessarily connect with the written word the same way. People don't understand that learning to read is more than just learning the words. It's reading comprehension. It's context clues. People don't necessarily understand that, yeah, okay, AI can read your contract to you. Can you understand what the contract is saying? Can you understand what you're hearing? Right. And to hear this, with such passion in 2025 to me is
Tomato.
it's one of the most disappointing things I've ever heard. Right. I mean, you can look at just what's happened to art in a lot of ways. We'll say even music in this case, people aren't having a lot of conversations because I don't think these people are reading. Right. I learned about the Pale White Horse from Wu-Tang Clan. I learned about Harry Allen from Public Enemy. I started thinking about, pyramids in Egypt through Nas, right? There was a whole generation of just understanding that, hey, if I'm going to be putting words together, I probably need to understand these words. I need to understand what's going on. And we are so far away from that now we have Juelz Santana sitting up here with a straight face and his homie looking like this. Looking like this. My man over here, he looked like he just solved an equation.
Tomato.
And that's just not the case. So I thought this was like so wild, right? But then I took solace in this post here, right? So this one is called, Gen Z is putting themselves in timeout and calling it healing. No phone, no TV, no music, no food, just silence. They're calling it raw dogging boredom. 15 minutes of sitting completely still with zero distractions. Some say it's weird, others say it's genius. Is this the dumbest trend yet or the smartest thing we've seen in years? Right. Now, this is a few weeks ago. And I thought this was really funny, right? Because, well, basically what she's doing is meditating without meditating. And at the same time, what I think is cool about it is that, I a lot of times find myself in a position where I feel like I'm showered in digital information all the time where I just need to unplug. And so this is an example of the generation finding a way to unplug that they can all connect to. Right? But the rules are so funny. The rules say no TV. The rules say no TV, no music, no food, and no phone. They ain't even worried about reading. Reading's not even part of the thing. 1 second applause. Can you guys hear me okay? I just got a weird message that popped up on the screen. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me okay. Either way, so, kids are out here meditating, trying to find a way through and all these things. And the things they're cutting out is food, music, TV, phone. And they still can read. They still have the opportunity to read. They still have the opportunity to read with their raw dogging boredom trend. Raw dogging boredom trend. I can't believe I can't believe that Juelz Santana said that. And at the same time, I can't believe that his homie was hype man the way he was, and at the same time, I can. And all of this to me is just another example of what some of the ramifications are that perhaps we didn't necessarily consider with the dawn of the information age and social media. And it's one of the saddest stories I've seen. And I don't think anybody ever anywhere should take any of his advice. And I think everyone watching this should make sure that they tell everyone that they can not to listen to Juelz Santana on this point. Because to go through life not being able to comprehend text, to not being able to comprehend what words mean, is putting yourself at a disservice, but also putting society in one of these places where I don't know how you come back from that. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section. I thought this was just tragic all the way around. Big shout out to Juelz Santana.
Tomato.
That's what you get for the day. It's all happening. Okay, that's 2 stories down. All right, and I've got one more story for today. And this story is the biggest story of the day. Actually, I have 2 more, actually. This was actually something I thought was really cool. All right, this is actually a really feel-good story. And so I'm not sure if you are aware, but Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, McKenzie Scott, has given nearly $1 billion to HBCUs. Nearly $1 billion to HBCUs. 1 second applause. That's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And I didn't really understand the reason why she was doing that. I didn't think about it. I thought it was just like, you know, this is a really cool philanthropic thing. And then I saw this video today, and I want to share with you guys because I think this is just a really cool story. All right, so let's share this tab here, and let's go. So here it says Dillard University, 5 million, Clark Atlanta, 15 million, Elizabeth City State University, 15 million, Claflin, 20 million, Delaware State, 20 million, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, 20 million, Lincoln University, 20 million, Virginia State University, 30 million. I guess this is Winston-Salem State University, 30 million, Norfolk State University, 40 million, Morgan State University, 40 million, Prairie View, 50 million, right? That's a lot of money. And that's huge. I mean, the dollar amounts are astronomical in general, but especially for HBCUs. Okay, I was just told that you can't hear it. So let me start it over. Let's try it again. All right, let's see if I can figure this out. So you can't hear it, so we're sharing there. Let's see. Stop sharing. And let's see. Okie dokie. Let's see. Share screen. Let's see if this works. All right, can you guys hear this?
Am I the only one that didn't know McKenzie Scott's interesting connection to the Black community? So McKenzie Scott's an author and a philanthropist and the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos. And she recently donated over $1 billion to several HBCUs.
All right, so this list right here says Dillard University, 5 million, Clark Atlanta University, 15 million, Elizabeth City State University, 15 million, Claflin University, 20 million, Delaware State University, 20 million, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, 20 million, Lincoln University, 20 million, Virginia State, 30 million, Winston-Salem State, 30 million, Norfolk State, 40 million, Morgan State, 40 million, Prairie View, 50 million. There we go.
Now, this donation to Black colleges isn't random, and the decision was actually influenced by someone very influential in her life. So McKenzie attended Princeton. While there, she took a creative writing course. The professor of that course took McKenzie under her wing and mentored her, and she said that McKenzie was one of the best students that she had ever had. Even after graduation, her and the professor stayed in contact, and they would exchange letters. When McKenzie was going through rough times and struggling financially, the professor would send her letters of encouragement. When McKenzie decided to write her own book, this professor was the supervisor of that and mentored her during the process. McKenzie applied to work at an investment firm, and this professor wrote an amazing letter of recommendation that allegedly helped McKenzie get hired. At that firm, she met her future husband.
I mean, I'm going to let it keep playing because it's really cool. I just want to point out how far reading can take you. Oh, this is a bunch of reading stuff over here.
Jeff Bezos, they got married, they built Amazon together, and in 2019, they split. and McKenzie got around 36 billion. She vowed to donate the majority of her worth, including donations to HBCUs. So who was this professor? It was the Pulitzer Prize winning, the Nobel Prize winning, the late great Toni Morrison, who was the first Black female to win a Nobel Prize. McKenzie says she not only learned writing from Toni, she also learned humanity, compassion, and philanthropy. I never knew this connection, but this is a dope story to me. Shout out to McKenzie for her generosity and her willingness to donate her wealth to make the world a better place. And as always, the biggest shout out to the late great Toni Morrison. Wow, this is a dope story to me.
Word up, man. 9-second applause to that. I just thought this was an amazing story. It was a feel-good story that I saw. It warmed my heart. And I actually saw it. I saw it like maybe 5 posts after I saw Juelz Santana. I saw Juelz Santana saying, nobody needs to read. And then 5 posts later, I am seeing McKenzie Scott donate $1 billion to Black colleges because she was inspired by her creative writing professor, Toni Morrison, who's one of the most important writers in American history. Just a great story all the way around. So don't be like Juelz, be like McKenzie Scott and Toni Morrison. 1 second applause. All right, so now that that's over, this is the biggest story today. So today's main story. One thing I'm trying to figure out here is, how do I actually want to do this? You know, like, okay, do I want to leave with the big story? Do I want to lead to another story? I guess it depends on what time of day things go. We'll see. We're experimenting. We're having fun. It's live. I thank you guys for being here again. 1 second applause to you all. All right. And so, but for the major story today, over on the raging hellscape, formerly known as Twitter, Elon Musk, over the weekend, completely exposed so many people in so many spheres of life by adding a feature that revealed where people were located. So they added a location services feature on X, and all hell rang loose this weekend. He did it on Friday night, and at some point there was talks that he took it down, but it's currently active right now. So let's take a look at this. There's layers to this story. So I'm going to start with this. Here we go. I'm going to start with this MSN story first, and then we'll take it from there. So the headline is, top MAGA influencers accidentally unmasked as foreign trolls. But it's much deeper than just MAGA influencers. But this is how the story is written, so you get an understanding of how it went. Here it goes. Elon Musk's social media site has rolled out a new feature in an effort to increase transparency and unwittingly revealed that many of the site's top MAGA influencers are actually foreign actors. The new About This Account feature, which, excuse me, the new About This Account feature, which became available to X users on Friday, allows others to see where an account is based when they join the platform, how often they have changed their username, and how they downloaded the X app. Upon rollout, rival factions began to inspect just where their online adversaries were really based on the combative social platform, with dozens of major MAGA and right-wing influencer accounts revealed to be originating from overseas. This is easily one of the greatest days on this platform, wrote Democratic influencer Harry Sisson. Seeing all these MAGA accounts exposed as foreign actors trying to destroy the United States is a complete vindication of Democrats like myself and many on here who have been warning about this. Now, this was actually a really big talking point during the 2016 elections. As if you guys remember, when Trump was first elected to office in 2016, those first 18 months after Trump was in office, all the left-wing media was doing stories about how Russia hacked our elections and foreign actors were manipulating sentiment here in the United States. And so I think that's what he's referring to there in regards to that. But here's more. Let's check it out. Dozens of major accounts masquerading as America First or MAGA proponents have been identified as originating in places like Russia, India, and Nigeria. In one example, the account MAGA Nation X, with its nearly 400,000 followers and a bio reading, Patriot Voice for We the People, is actually based in Eastern Europe.
Tomato.
An Ivanka Trump fan account, Ivanka News, has 1 million followers and frequently posts about the dangers of Islam, the threat of illegal immigration, and support of Trump. That account is based in Nigeria. This is total Armageddon for the online right, wrote law student and left-wing influencer Micah Efron. It's looking like half of their large accounts were foreigners posing as Americans all along. Half of the large accounts. That's a lot. While About This account went live on Friday, X's head of production development, Nikita Beer, noted that the change had a few rough edges, which they are planning to smooth. Information around account location, for example, could be altered with the use of a VPN, something Beer has said the company is planning to resolve. User on X reported the tool being taken down just hours after it went live, with some speculating that the uncovering of the origins of the far-right accounts may have something to do with its removal. However, it appears to have now been reinstated at the time of this writing, right? So that's what's happening. That's the big picture. The big picture is that when X put up location services, a political war started taking place, and they noticed that a whole bunch of accounts claiming to be Americans or claiming to be we the people were actually people from all across the world, right? I don't think any of us are surprised because a lot of us are on Twitter for music, and the fan base wars have reached a whole new tier that I've never seen before, and has also been impacted by what we're seeing here. So we'll take a look at this tab right here. So here's just some more detail and color, right? This one is more so on the political stuff. It says half the population of the US fell for what it is. In fact, just the newest iteration of Nigerian prince trying to move some diamonds. Here are the heroes and champions of your white Christian ethno-state MAGA, right? So it's got Ian Miles Chung over here, Ultra MAGA Trump, America First, and MAGA Scope. Okay. Nigeria, UAB, Bangladesh. Okay. All right. Here's another one. This one is Homeland Security. Homeland Security. Says Homeland Security is based in Tel Aviv. Here's the post. It says America first is Israel first. The American empire is not simply parasitized. It is a hollowed out vessel puppeteered by Israel. Okay. So they changed that. So that has been evolved. They made that change pretty quickly, I think. But it looks like Homeland Security is being run out of Israel. And if that is the case, that's ridiculous. Like, that is the definition of a national security threat. And truthfully, it's one of those things that will do quite a bit to continue to fuel the negative point of view that people have on Israel's influence in the United States. Like, it's crazy. Like, just seeing that was nuts. Now, they tried to change it. Homeland Security tried to walk it back. They said, I can't believe we have to say this, but this account has only ever been run and operated from the United States. Screenshots are easy to forge. Videos are easy to manipulate. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. And so that's what Homeland Security said. And then All Diamond, she jumped in. She got 129,000 hearts, 7.8 million views with. On my mom last night when that tweet first went viral, I went on this page myself and the location said Israel. You changed it. You changed it, right? I mean, it's wild what is happening here. Right, here's another one. AIPAC tried to get involved. AIPAC tried to get in and call out Palestine. And they said, oh, and it said Palestine News, and they're based out of Australia. So that was AIPAC joining in on the fray. And then this account says, you're not going to believe why so many Palestinian accounts are located outside of Palestine. 425,000 likes, 9.8 million views. Yeah, it's pretty tragic why you would see this many Palestinian accounts outside of Palestine. This stuff was going crazy. So then it spills over into all the anti-black stuff, right? So here is Paris the Icon, right? So there's an account here called Black Barbies. FYI, I'm Australian, not from China, so you can stop the Asian hate people. And then she was called out by Paris the Icon when she said, "This is still bad. You're not Black American, and you've been pushing hateful rhetoric amongst Black Americans disguised as a Black American woman, and that's not what we stand for." Right? There's more. So this one says, so all the anti-Black accounts are based in India? How about that? And this one, the quote tweet says, "The fact that anti-Blackness is a viable profession on the global level should be much more alarming to people." 33,000 likes. I say it all the time, anti-Blackness should be expensive. But then it gets into hip hop. We get to the hip hop pages. So it says, all these hip hop accounts with over 200,000 followers are in the United Kingdom, Canada, Asia, India, and Africa. If this doesn't piss you off as a Black American, what will? Okay. And so here you can see where these people are located. And it gets deeper. Shout out to Deleted. 1 second applause to Deleted. He retweeted Dog Ninja. Big shout out to Dog Ninja. 1 second applause. And Dog Ninja said, "Show me examples when pages you are talking about are policing hip hop and just engaging in Stan War. I have a bridge to sell you. Drake fans aren't African American either." And so here's a number of prominent OVO accounts, and they are based all over the place. France, Australia, you know what I mean? So this has been going on. This has been a massive, massive story. Certified Boogeyman called this chick out. She said, "Make America white again." And her ad is at Drizzy's. Said, "Make America white again." And her ad is at Drizzy's. Certified Boogeyman said, "And what would that have to do with you, Crodette?" Because she is based in Europe. Right. So, like, this stuff has been going insane over the past couple of days. And then DJ Academics, he pointed out what's happening with Kendrick fans. He said, "Kendrick got to do a concert in India. His popular ex-Stan accounts are almost entirely from there. Elon exposed it. How am I arguing hip hop with niggas who live in part of the world where they praying to goats and cows, bruh?" Right. So that was Academics saying that. Right. So, okay. Oh, that's a cool feature. I didn't know to do that. And one of the people who got caught out there is High Power. Right, High Power is a popular Kendrick page, and he posted his Indian flag on his account, right? And then Sniper says, "Now you want to rep the Indian shit," and it's a whole bunch of old tweets from High Power dropping the N-word on multiple occasions all over his account, right? Now, I'm going to wrap this up here shortly, but I do want to address this one point. I don't think the conversation here is necessarily that you can't be from somewhere else in the world and appreciate hip hop. You can't be a fan of someone in America if you're somewhere else in another country. I don't think that's what the story here is. To me, the story is the insurgent nature of a number of these conversations and how they try to paint and push narratives that have nothing to do with hip hop. You know, a lot of these pages are pushing the Harriet Tubman rap, whatever that was about Doechii last year. A lot of these pages will do their best to shit on rappers who have a message or have things to talk about, right? That is where the problem is. If you are sitting here in Nigeria saying you're from Compton and that you don't fuck with Kendrick because you don't like Harriet Tubman rap, let's see. Did you guys lose audio? Let me see. Can you guys hear me? I don't know. Oh, it looks like I'm still here. Well, either way, if that's what the story is to you, like if you're doing that, that's where the problem is. That's actually the problem, right? The problem isn't being a fan of someone in another country. Being in India and loving Kendrick, that's not the problem. The problem is being an interloper from outside, using your big reach to push whatever narratives, fracturing what things that are happening here. That is the issue. That's the issue at play, right? And so High Power which was a popular Kendrick page, he's claiming he's owning India now, but now he's getting called out for something else, right? So it's going on both sides. All fan bases are from political spheres to Homeland Security to MAGA people to not MAGA people to Drake fans to Kendrick fans. This has been dominating the conversation, right? And so to the point I just made, Dog Ninja was calling that out as well. So here is Southside Gun. Big shout out to Southside Gun. He's really dope. 1 second plus. So Southside Gun was pointing out how someone else is from Jordan, right? And Dog Ninja, he is there where I'm at too. He says, not gonna lie, this is when things get a little xenophobic, respectfully. The problem isn't people from around the world giving their rap takes. The problem should be when people from accounts overseas try to dictate what rap music should look like, sound like, and our vocal hip hop culture without any ties to Black American culture. I follow this account and they're genuinely a fan of hip hop music and really only discuss music they personally like, right? And so there's a number of accounts that are getting caught up in this wave that really are just fans from other places. You know what I mean? 1 second applause. So that is part of was really going on here. Like, here's another example of where it got kind of weird, right? So someone posted, the eye emoji on back violations, right? It says, y'all, and the account is African and Black History. They're based in Kenya. And this person's trying to make an issue out of it. The person on top, Rennie Torres, says, I don't see the issue. 23,000 likes, 575 bookmarks, 642,000 likes. It says African and Black history. So I mean, that it should be okay to be based in Kenya if you're talking about African and Black history. That doesn't sound crazy to me. You know what I mean? So these things are going on. And I want to shout out these two because shout out to my man Whooping Feet. He says 3.2 thousand people. Oh, man, let me make this bigger for you guys so you guys can see this one. Shout out to my man Whooping Feet over here. He says 3.2 thousand people came to my page just to see I'm really from Compton. I know y'all went to sleep mad, huh? This is why I don't respond to y'all losers. I'm as real as it can get. Y'all can keep lurking and spamming me from Thailand, right? And we have this one here. Shout out to my man Certified Boogeyman. How I sleep at night knowing I'm just a nigger from Chicago. 1 second applause. I mean, there's just so much at stake these days. There's so much at stake with social media, from a revenue standpoint. As soon as they added, once you could buy a blue check, they added a monetization component to Twitter in a new way, right? And so this type of online discourse is actually paying people's bills. It's actually paying people's bills. And I don't find anything wrong with people making money, making content on the internet. I find it dangerous when people are misrepresenting who they are in a means to sow discord, to cause conflict and problems. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing if there's like a siren going in the background and there's actually an emergency. But it's another thing if there's a siren going on in the background and there isn't actually an emergency. They're not the same thing, right? And so we're seeing that now in the stand wars. We're seeing that now from a political aspect of it. And there's a lot of money in this kind of thing. We have to remember that. I talk about one of my favorite verticals on YouTube is the FAFO content. The FAFO content, right? And there is got to be 20, 30 at least FAFO content creators in Africa. And all they do is aggregate TikTok videos and then explain them, right? So if it's Nebraska, if Tyson Foods is going out of business laying people off in Nebraska, they've got a whole bunch of people reacting to it, right? And I watch all of them. There's the Kenyan twins. I watch Eugene from Kenya. I watch Afro Judy. I watch, you name it, I watch them. I watch them all, right? And I marvel at it because there's an industry there. Now, I don't necessarily take their cues or whatever descriptions that they're talking about, however they're coloring what's going down in the United States. I'm not going to Kenya to go get what's going down in the United States. But I do appreciate their aggregation skills, right? they really don't talk in these videos. They'll say something in the beginning and they'll be like, hello, my friends and neighbors. We are here now today and it's going down in America. In America, they're laying people off in Tyson Foods. And I want you to see how the Americans are talking about it. And then they'll just play 20 minutes of videos and then they'll come in at the end and they'll be like, and yes, at the end. And as you can see, America is no longer at the top of the pile and you can see all the American sins are coming back. I don't necessarily listen to that aspect of it. Don't listen to it. But they're great aggregators. And that's a whole industry. These people have monetized YouTube channels sitting in another country reporting on things that are happening on the ground. A lot of these Twitter accounts are very similar, right? For those who are just reporting or just fans, that is okay. It's the other cats. It's the insurgents. It's the destructive nature. It's how easy it is to sow discord, disinformation from anywhere on the planet. And we've seen now that take place in our political sphere, and we're seeing the same thing happen in hip hop. And this is one of those times in history where all of us need to be more discerning than ever at where we're getting our information from. Regardless of what Juelz Santana says, we all need to be able to understand. We all need to understand what words mean. We all need to understand reading comprehension more than ever right now. And we also need to realize that there's real people's lives that are at stake with these kind of things. We've seen a whole almost 180 shift in what life is like here in America on the ground over the past 15 years. Definitely since 9/11. And this is the point in time where we all need to be more prepared and have more information as possible to understand what we're really up against. And a lot of these people we outside going to war with every day on social media, online, not even real people. And the ones that are, not even really your neighbors. And if you ever want to get a quick laugh, go to Twitter and look at everybody getting called out for not being who they purport themselves to be. Sometimes in life, it's all about the simple pleasures. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section. My name is Justin Hunt. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow at The Company Man on everything, including The Company Man podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. It's all happening. Word up. Okay. All right, boom. Okay, good. So this is episode 2, and I really, again, appreciate you guys for bearing with me as I figure out these reps. Episode 1, my goal for episode 1 was, all right, let me see how long it takes me to get through stuff, right? And so episode 1 is like 3.5 hours, and it was 9 stories. 9 stories in 3 hours. And I had a lot of fun. That was fun. That was super fun. So this time I was like, all right, what's it look like if I do 3 stories? What's that look like today? And so that's right at an hour, right? I'm not going to go into these every day with necessarily a cap, an exact amount of time that I want to hit. It's more about the stories that I want to get to, generally speaking. And so today's episode is a lot shorter. So I have time to talk to you guys. If you guys have any questions or anything, if you guys, super chats are always welcome. That's the best way to help support this channel, especially since last video had 3 music videos in it. So all that monetization was taken away. But more than anything else, like, it's certain things around this that I'm still deciding whether or not I want to do. Like, today was actually a really great episode to play some De La Soul music. But do I want to jeopardize an entire stream for De La Soul when I can just do a separate reaction video for De La Soul that doesn't jeopardize the stream? Yeah, so there are some logistics that I'm still figuring out. But let me know what you guys think. Like, what kind of stuff would you guys like to see on here? There will be interviews, of course. There will be panels, of course. The Culture United will happen more frequently and more consistently, and it'll happen within like the same time slot. So that is something that I have thought about quite a bit. And this is also, again, a means to help me free up time so I can do think pieces more regularly. So that's really the overall goal here. Big shout out to Indica Breath. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. 1 second applause to you. Oh, Andy had a question here. Justin, we need to make our own chart. Someone like you should be involved in creating it. Are you talking about like music charts? Like chart system, chart rating charts? What kind of chart are you talking about, Andy? Let me know. So that's where my thoughts are with this process. There's a number of things I just want to continue to learn. Like, okay, for example, it is 4:10 p.m. right now on the West Coast, and the light shifted crazy. The light shifted crazy. So now the light's coming through my windows. And so when I was over there reading about all the crazy stuff that was happening in Twitter land, I came back and I looked different on the screen. So there we go. Let's see. Hey, what's up, Moni? Chilling with Moni. 1 second applause. She says, just a tip, you are able to go back and cut out the music or mute it. You can then upload that section separately if you want. I'm enjoying the stream though. Thanks, man. That's a great tip. 1 second applause to you. Appreciate that. Okay, cool. That's a good thing. Maybe I'll go back and try to do that. Maybe I'll try to do that. Yeah. Brand new reps. I'm not sure what Andy was talking about specifically with this charts thing. And it'd be interesting to try to figure that out. Like, how would it look? Maybe there's some people in here who code and could think about ways to create our own charts. Because I do think that our YouTube community is big enough and broad enough and listening to music enough to where perhaps there's an API way to measure charts and get buy-in from different people. I don't know. It's something to think about. Oh, she's saying like Billboard charts. Right, like the Billboard charts. I have to think about that. I have to think about how to actually make that happen because that's such a huge, that is such a data heavy process now. You know, one thing was really interesting is like, when I was running Hip Hop DX, we were always benchmarking ourselves to Hot New Hip Hop, right? Because Hot New Hip Hop, I think the publisher of DX felt like he was in direct competition with Hot New Hip Hop. They're both from they're both brown people. I think Sorrow, who owns Hot New Hip Hop, I think he's Middle Eastern by way of Canada, and then Tommy was Indian by way of Canada. So they're both from Canada. From a content strategy standpoint, theirs was the closest. You know, they were amazing at news, right? They were able to break news in a way that just not nearly as fast as we were. Like, I'll say this: they're really great at aggregated news. So if anything that was happening in the space, they were able to get it up faster than we were, and most people were. But the biggest difference between Hot New Hip Hop and DX was Hot New Hip Hop had charts. Hot New Hip Hop had charts on there. And so they had additional SEO plays that could help carry the site away from just the content they were putting out. They had artist pages, they had charts. And the charts was so significant on Hot New Hip Hop. And they still have charts. Shout out to Hot New Hip Hop. 1 second plus. They still have charts. So the charts was another SEO hit, but it also turned their site into a different type of utility. Right. So they were able to get people from the music industry. Like I've had, music executives tell me they went to Hot New Hip Hop's just for the charts, just to see what was moving. I've had people who were, the head programmers at radio stations and at Revolt and BET tell me they went to Hot New Hip Hop because they had the charts. Right. So, but their charts, I think, are based off of their own internal data collection. And Billboard charts are based off of Luminate, right? So like all the Billboard chart data comes from Luminate, right? And so what would be a way to create a chart and where would it live, right? There's something to think about. I'll think about that. I mean, I think in lieu of a chart, I think, what do they call those? Power rankings. I think there's room in this space for power rankings. And I do think that has a chart-like feel to it, even if it's not necessarily data-based. But I do think that power rankings make a difference. So perhaps that's what it is. Let's see. Let's see what you got. So what are you saying, Andy? They manipulated it to make Luther. Oh, okay, yeah. She's talking about Billboard's recurrence here. So that's something to think about. I'll think about that. Andy, and if you have any ideas, or any of you guys have any ideas, let me know about that in the comment section too, or just hit me on Twitter or DM me or wherever. It's at the company man on everything. Let's see. Buck2 says, I don't give a F about the charts, but it's cool to say dope stuff on there, to see dope stuff on there. I think what he means. Yeah, I mean, look, I do chart report every week, and I've told you guys why. It's just to understand the business of selling music. I don't think that it's necessarily has no bearing at all on whether something's dope or not. I don't think that's part of the question. But I do think understanding where things are sitting from a market share standpoint in the business of selling music is interesting. And I do think that there are some examples of some things that are hip hop that just aren't rap music that are still on the charts. Like you could look at Jelly Roll, Shabuzi, Morgan Wallen all over the country charts and still see a ton of all the stuff that they're taking from rap music and hip hop. You know, I look at Shabuzi and Jelly Roll as being a part of the hip hop generation. I don't with Morgan Wallen, but you know, that to me is still hip hop. Ooh, yuck, gross. Is still pulling and snatching all kinds of things from hip hop. So the charts still give that type of perspective. But no, I don't look at the charts. Like there's people, I saw this tweet today. It was the most ridiculous thing. I'm so tired of this narrative. Oh my God, I'm so tired of this Drake is coming back to save hip hop thing, right? Because this person was like, Iceman's going to come back and save hip hop. And I'm like, this has been a fantastic year. From a music standpoint, fantastic year. You know what I mean? And so when they were posting that, I'm thinking they had to be talking about from a chart standpoint, right? Because that tends to be the currency that fan base appreciates more than any other, more truthfully speaking. And I think we're seeing that with a lot of people who break down Drake content. Like even Drake breakdown videos historically have never done that well because he's not that type of artist, you know? Like I'm talking about lyric breakdown videos, you know, he's not that type of artist and that's okay. That's not a knock. But like this idea that we need Iceman to come back to save hip hop is totally different than we need Iceman to come back to save hip hop's representation on the Billboard charts. And there's only 5 or so artists who can even have that type of impact on the Billboard charts. And Drake is one of them. Absolutely. But every time I see someone say something like that, I'm like, dog, he dropped like 40 something joints in the past year. Y'all don't like none of them? Y'all don't like none of the 40 joints he dropped? Where'd he go? He's still here. You know, so I think that's something to think about. I've thought more about power rankings than I have about charts in recent, over the past year and a half. Like I think power rankings would be dope because power rankings are fun. Power rankings are really fun in sports, like in football, basketball, the power rankings. Separate from who's the actual rankings, but who's moving up, who's moving in the right direction, who's got a lot of energy. I think power rankings, there's something there for that. I feel actually pretty good about that one. A few of you asked me why I haven't done a story on the Drake Complex interview, and I was going to save it for one of these. I guess I could talk about it pretty quickly here. I read through it I read through it over the weekend, and I think that Drake Complex interview is a great example of the type of conversations Drake should have been having this whole time, right? It's an email interview. It's not very personal. It doesn't dive into anything but the art. And it is a conversation with Drake and I guess it's his manager, one of his managers, and it's over emails editorialized, right? And so I think that in that conversation, he just talks about his thought process around the Iceman rollout. You know, like the challenges that they were having trying to figure out, you know, timing, production schedules. Okay, well, all of this is outside, it's on the road. Okay, so how many batteries do we need? Or what happens if police show up? You know, that kind of thing is what I think Drake should be doing more of. You know, like what he's doing now with these Iceman rollouts, regardless of whether or not I find them to be effective, it is an experience in its own. Like he's basically scripting a play, I guess, some sort of, you know, spy film, maybe. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But that is actually something we hadn't seen as well. And so when we think about this year of rollouts, you know, I think, you know, Drake's has been one of the more creative ones. For me, it's not effective. There's not enough music. I'm not interested in the storyline. There's way too many just static shots of things I don't care about. There's no dialogue and the music's not good. So it's not interesting for me, but if I'm a Drake super fan, I would love this. I think it's something different. A rollout to me is only as good as the music, how well the music connects with people. And I think that there's a lot of room. I'm not sure how well any of those songs are really connecting based on chart performance and things like that. But the conversation was just around that. And that's what I appreciated. And I think that's the kind of thing that will win more as we go forward. I think there's been a lot of talk about this shift that's happening and how hip hop has gone underground again, which I love. 1 second applause. And how things are more like the 80s now, which leads to the 90s, right? And those are times where people were very interested in what the music had to say and what people were saying in their music and all the nuggets of information that you could pull out of a rap song that wasn't necessarily the case in the same way in other genres. And so in that regard, I think that conversation with Complex that he had was actually really effective for Drake fans. I think for non-Drake fans, it is like, even if you're like just a fan of streaming or if you're a fan of film or television or how things are being done, there's a lot of detail in there about the challenges that they have to go through. So I wasn't mad at that conversation overall. I didn't plan to do a story on it. I just felt like it's really technical. It's actually a pretty technical read, but people should check it out. It's really about his streaming stuff. But I think that's a great example of what he should be doing more of. He shouldn't be out here trolling the same way. I think where he has real value to add is where most of us have value to add, and that comes through our perspective and the things that we've learned along the road. And so we are in the streaming era now. And if you are looking to get into streaming, there are a lot of takeaways for you as you try to hone that craft, because there's like sitting in your house streaming, and then there's go outside and let random things happen streaming, and then there's go outside, try to make a production while allowing for random things to happen streaming. And that's that last one is what Drake is doing. And that is probably the coolest thing about this Iceman rollout, is that he's experimenting in that way and sort of pushing in that way. And I think that's really cool. Even if, overall it hasn't impacted me personally, and I haven't been moved by the music quite a bit. But that's the upside to that Drake Complex conversation. I did appreciate that. Let's see what the super chat says. TK Mo. I was going to struggle. I was going to get your name wrong. TK Mo. Backing up to the reading topic, you mentioned there weren't many, but do you have recommendations for reliable spaces to read outside of social media platforms? Reliable spaces to read. It's funny. I'm not someone. When Juelz Santana said that about the audiobook or like listening to books, I'm not an audiobook guy at all. And I think a big part of that is because of how I retain information. And I'm also a writer. So when I'm reading, I'm not just reading to learn what's happening. I'm not reading just to learn the topic. I'm also reading to get closer to how they how the writer's writing. Like I'm reading to get closer to the literary devices, to learn words maybe I don't understand, to find the pattern in how they structure their sentences or their stanzas or their chapters. So I'm reading for the dynamic experience of it and not necessarily for just the takeaway from it. So I've never really been like an audiobook kind of person. I'm not sure if I all the way understand this question. Do you have recommendations for reliable spaces to read outside of social media platforms? I guess maybe you're talking about from an article standpoint. And one thing I will do from an article standpoint is I'll still use social media. Social media is still the best aggregator, period. That's why everybody's moving over there, because the aggregation is incredible with social media. My social media feed has everything I want to know about Planet Nine in outer space, Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yoti, everything that's happening in hip hop, what's happening in politics, horoscopes. Like the aggregation is undefeated. You know what I mean? You can get a little bit of everything. And so I don't necessarily think social media itself is a problem when it comes to reliable places to read. It's really being able to tell if what you're reading is reliable. And that's where I have a problem with what Juelz Santana is saying. Because if you aren't as if you don't read, you don't have you're going to have a disconnect between what's real and what's not a lot of times, right? Your ability to understand how things are sourced or whatever, right? And so my issue isn't that social media is unreliable, is that a lot of times people just stop at what's being said on social media, right? So if there's something I find like, oh man, this is crazy, then I'll try to go Google it someplace else. And if I can't find it, then I tend to think it's probably not real anymore. I got caught out there the other day, though. There was this AI video of it's supposed to be like this lady who said that her neighbor who just moved in looked suspicious, and he apparently was the police chief of Boston or something like that. He moved into this place, and I got caught out there. I retweeted it, but then I went back and looked. I was like, wait a minute, is there a story on this? Because I was looking for it. I was like, man, maybe this is something I might want to talk about on one of these platforms I'm on. And I couldn't find it anywhere outside of just Instagram and Facebook. And so I'm like, oh shoot, okay, so AI is getting kind of crazy now. So I had to undo it. But that, I think, is more so what I mean, rather than necessarily having reliable spaces in particular. I still tend to put a higher expectation on legacy media. You know what I mean? Like on legacy media, I tend to think that they have enough journalistic principles and safeguards in place on the editorial side to where I'll feel comfortable with the information they're sharing, even if I'm more incredulous about the slant of their article, right? Like there's an article, where's this article? This is one of the craziest things. So there's an article here, let me show you. All right, so here's this article here. So there's this article here, right? And it said, Americans are holding on to devices longer than ever and it's costing the economy, right? So that's the headline from the CNBC article. And it says Americans are hanging on to their smartphones for much longer than they did a decade ago, but new releases like Apple's iPhone 17 can entice consumers to upgrade. Businesses tend to hang on to their devices even longer than individual consumers, especially overseas. While it may seem to be a smart money move, it can result in a costly productivity and innovation lag for the economy, right? So this article is titled, Americans are holding on to devices longer than ever and it's costing the economy, right? Now, I look at this and I'm like, well, this is a crazy way to frame this. Americans are holding on to their devices longer and it's causing a lag on the economy. Well, why would Americans be holding on to their phones longer? Maybe because they're broke? Maybe because the devices that are coming out aren't actually worth buying every generation anymore because they're worried about stock buybacks from a company standpoint more than they are about innovating with their products. Either way, the takeaway here is that it's the consumer's fault. The takeaway is the consumer's fault. Now, I trust this information because it's CNBC. Like, I trust what they're saying. You know what I mean? I just don't trust their slant. I don't agree with their slant or their framing. Like, if you're not media literate, or if you're not thinking about, how a story can be told, then this is just a regular headline, right? The headline is, Americans are holding on to devices longer than ever and it's costing the economy. That's what the headline is. Right? That is not how you tell that story. No, you can say, people can't afford to upgrade their phone, or these companies are not innovating anymore, and therefore the only thing you get when you get a new cell phone is a better camera, or whatever, right? The slant here, because it's CNBC, right? This is a business-focused channel, business-focused outlet. Their slant is going to be pro-business, right? So even if I might not trust a word that, even if I trust everything, the data that's based off of this, generally speaking, the slant is what I might disagree with. So I could look at an article like this, still pull something from it, right? Without necessarily agreeing with where they're talking about, like where they're coming from. Like, that's just a crazy thing to think about. Let's blame broke people for not buying more stuff and causing a strain on the economy.
Tomatoes.
What are we doing? What are we doing here? That's actually ridiculous. That's actually ridiculous. So I guess TK Mo, that's what I would say. If you're asking some of my favorite places, I love the Atlantic. Generally speaking, I follow more writers than I do outlets at this point in time, though. Like, I love Michael Harriot. His stuff is always great. His stuff is funny. There's actually a story that he did on his Substack. You have to have a subscription for it. And this was about Pharrell. And so I was going to do this story on Pharrell and Clips, because that Pharrell Clips story was really big. And I decided I'm going to do a scripted thing about it. But Michael Harriot actually talked to Pharrell, and because he knows Pharrell as, they're friends or whatever. And so actually, we can take a look at that. I think we got some time in here. Let's go see what Michael Harriot said about Pharrell. And so, but they're actually friends. And so he had like a personal conversation with Pharrell around what was happening with what Pharrell said as about, you know what? I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this for another thing. I'm definitely going to save that. I'll save it for another thing. But that is, so I like writers. I like, Eli Mistel a lot. I still like Maureen Dowd because I like her style, even though I don't agree with anything she says anymore. I like, I tend to look at like people's perspective more than I look at particularly, certain outlets. So I hope that answered your question. Let me know if if I did that. I feel like I just talked about media in a circle, trying to land on perhaps an answer for you. Maybe you got it. Maybe I didn't do it. I can take a look at that again later. But let me see what you guys say. What you guys got over here? Right, exactly. Meanwhile, the job market is crashing. The job market is crashing, but CNBC wants you to know that Americans are draining the economy. Like, come on, man.
Tomato.
That's actually crazy. Stuff like that happens a lot. But that's really how I look at media and media literacy. Yeah, The Atlantic is one of my favorites. I read them all the time. Actually, the story I pulled from about colleges having students who can't read, that was an Atlantic story. So I'm a big fan of them. Let's see. I know I'm mad late, but to see people spin Juelz comment positively is crazy. 1 second applause. I agree. There's nothing positive about it. And his homies over is like, I told you. You don't even need to be reading. I ain't trying to do it to be literate. That's crazy to me. Top 25. This is a top tracks of 2025. Top tracks of 25. I can say this. I love FICO. That's on there. I got Wale's Mirror in the Benz. That's on there. 2025. Every time, bottles after bottles after bottles. Every time, top 3. Those songs right there. What else we got? Community with Jid. I love that joint. What's his name? Letters from Chance the Rapper. That's 5. We'll go. There we go. Boom. Those 3, they're all very different. The thing I really like about this year is that there's a lot of conversations that I didn't expect to hear. Like, I didn't expect to hear Chance talk about churches, mega churches, black churches, the global body. You know what I'm saying? That was kind of crazy to hear him talk about that. Birds don't sing. I mean, 2 brothers talking about their parents. I mean, that was crazy. There's just been a lot of different conferences. Like this De La Soul. De La Soul has a song on here. It's called, what is it? The Life Cycle of the Truth? Is that what it is? What's it called? The Silent Life of a Truth. And I just thought that was the best example of like, oh, he's from the reading era. He's back when back when cats used to read. They come up with ideas like The Silent Life of a Truth, you know? And the song is like the life cycle, like a day in the life of the truth. And it's up against, you know, lies. And it's not being received by this people. Like, I mean, it's a brand new thought for me. I never thought about like, you know, I've never heard truth personified in that way, you know? And so I think 2025 has been really great for things like that. 12, what songs from 12 do I love? Because there's like 3 songs off that. West Side Gun that I absolutely love. What's that? Let me see. Let's see what songs. 055 feature, off of 12. 055 is crazy. Gumbo Yaya. I mean, it's been a great year. It's been a really, really great year on the music side. So hope that answers your question. 1 second applause. That was a good question. Let's see what else we got. Ensalada is my personal favorite, but it's not as impactful, I'd say. Definitely what I played the most. So yeah, that's a great song too. 1 second. Andy Pandy says, I love Joyner Lucas' album ADHD too. Yeah, Joyner Lucas, man. Probably his best work, I'd say, though. I don't want to say it's his best work, because ADHD is actually a really great album. I just keep thinking about that battle he had this summer. That's actually one of my biggest, you know, there's another thing that I do every year. And it's sort of, we used to do this thing at DX, it's called mortality and morbidity. And so basically what that was like, it's named after this medical term where after a doctor does a surgery or whatever, you know, all the doctors and nurses and medical professionals get together and they figure out what went right and what went wrong. And the Joyner Lucas versus Skepta battle, the US versus UK battle, is one of the ones that is one of the pieces of coverage that I've done that I'm most disappointed in. And for a number of reasons. Because one, I've treated the whole back and forth kind of like it was a joke, because it was kind of a joke to me. Like, you know, it felt like it didn't necessarily seem like it was coming from an earnest place, right? And so that feeling, that perspective bled through too much in my coverage, in my opinion, meaning I'm not an expert on UK hip hop, right? I'm not an expert on, well, I guess I'm more of an expert on UK hip hop than I am on like grime, or I am on garage, or like their subgenres. You know what I mean? Like, I'm familiar from a macro standpoint. I'm familiar with the artists that I rock with, but certain aspects of the subculture, I'm just not versed on enough, right? So there was an opportunity for me to go deep into it, try to understand it better as part of the coverage. I didn't do that. Then with Joyner Lucas, right, I personally had a very difficult time in my life beating Piston Honda. To me, that is not the same kind of diss. It's not a diss to people. But when I called him the Piston Honda of hip hop, people got very upset about that. They got very, very bothered by that. And I'm like, that's the first belt you get. You know what I mean? I didn't look at that in the same way. Plus, I've also found myself very critical of a number of things that Joyner Lucas has done over the course of his career. Right. And so I personally look at him as someone who, for a UK-US battle to be happening, is he the guy that should be representing? You know, that was like the internal thing. I didn't actually look at it from a Joyner Lucas fan standpoint. I didn't look at it. I was like, okay, well, Joyner Lucas' staccato flow is crazy. His rapid fire is nuts. His third-person storytelling is there. He can be as vivid as he needs to be. He is a metaphor-first guy. And he really cares about it. He cares about the craft. He cares about the culture. He cares about hip hop, and he cares about winning, right? And so I didn't necessarily approach it from that standpoint, right? So now I'm someone sitting in front of a microphone with a camera that's not taking the time to really go into the nuances of UK grime or UK rap or UK hip hop. And I'm over here, someone who is actually very familiar with Joyner Lucas, but doesn't necessarily have that same reverence for him as a lot of people do, for my own personal reasons, And so now I'm in a position where I'm treating this thing as a joke and I'm not adding value at the same time. Right. And so those are the things where I look back at myself and I'm like, okay, how could I have done that better? And that for 2025, that's the one thing this year that I look back and I'm like, yeah, I need to take a breath next time I decide to go into some certain situations as if they're just funny. Because I think there's still room in that conversation to actually have a really great story. And that's one of the things I'm most disappointed about is that no one had a great story around that. I mean, that is a very unique thing. You know, we haven't had even the idea of like a UK versus US rap battle. You know, like Skepta is one of the biggest and Jordan is one of the biggest. Like, you know, it's actually a really interesting thing, you know, and I think that was a missed opportunity from me from a coverage standpoint. But just as a journalist, as a commentator, I personally feel like I dropped the ball when it came to that, right? So ADHD 2 is dope. You know what I'm saying? It's probably one of his best, Jordan Lucas' best albums, you know. But when I look back at 2025, I'm like, I should have handled that one a little bit better, a little bit differently. But you know, thoughts are physical. Nothing starts so dope. 1 second plus. Let's see what we got here. 2025 Culture Uniteds were crazy, yo. You moderated some legendary convos, Justin. Thank you, my man. 1 second applause. So yeah, I'm gonna do one this week, John. I think right now it's Wednesday, so there should be one on Wednesday. I'll let you guys know if anything changes, but definitely more Culture Uniteds going forward, and I'm really excited that I was able to do one live. That was great to see, great to do this year. There's going to be a lot more of that in 2025. Like, I feel like the channel is pretty well positioned, or at least the things that I offer are pretty well positioned, right? Like there's a tentpole conversation platform, Culture United, right? There's breakdowns and think pieces. So that's 2. There's daily news. There was daily reactionary news that now can turn into a daily show, which gets closer to the stuff I was doing on radio and podcast. So that's 3, right? And then, you know, there's exclusive interviews, which I need to focus more on in 2026 as well. But like from a content standpoint, considering it's just me, turning on my camera, and me sitting down writing something and delivering it, I actually feel pretty confident in what I'm able to offer just here in this channel. And so, and then there's bigger stuff that I'm a part of that will be announced soon too. And so I'm really excited for 2026 and where things go. And we're definitely gonna get more Culture United. We're gonna get one this week on Wednesday. Okay, cool. See, like this is another thing that you learn when you do live streams. Okay, now the sun has set, so now there's too much light. So now we adjust. Yeah, there we go. But this is all I have for today. I really appreciate you guys for jumping in here. I didn't expect to talk about that UK Jordan Lucas thing, but that's true. That's really true. Big thank you to all the moderators in here, Lils, Andy Pandy. I saw Lord Racer, Bucktooth in here. Y'all are the illest, man. I mean, just to have people who show up and they want to help contribute to what you're doing is like, it's a priceless thing. I tell people all the time. I was on Pendulum Inc. I was on Pendulum Inc. last week. Big shout out to Mickey Facts, what's up, guys, and everybody over there. And I was speaking to Pendulum Inc. last week, and the episode was about content, and they wanted to, any advice I had for people wanting to put out content. And I was like, oh yeah, well, don't be afraid to do news on yourself, and don't be afraid to do reviews on yourself, because when I first started writing, I had no readers, so I had to be everybody in the comment section. So I was the people who agree with me. I was the people who disagree with me. I was all of them things. So, I think to have traveled down this road long enough to have like people who actually really care about what we're doing over here and are really engaged with the work that I've done over the years is really meaningful to me. So I thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to be off for this. I'm going to be off. Off's the wrong way to say that. But that's the end of episode 2 of the Company Man Show. Company Man Show, episode 2. Episode 3 will be tomorrow. 2 updates on that. One, tomorrow's episode is going to be after. It's going to have to be tomorrow evening. It'll probably have to be like 5 or 6 p.m. West Coast time. And so I'm going to come on because my barber's not working on Wednesday. He's not working on Wednesday. So I have to go get a cut tomorrow. And I have shoots all morning. So, so tomorrow it'll be back probably 5 p.m. West Coast time. All right. And so, but that's the only day that'll be that late. I don't necessarily want to do this at night. I don't know. Maybe I just need to rethink it. Maybe I need to rethink. Maybe I'll just try a different time to see what feels right. Okay, so that's that. 2, one of the things that delayed me doing lives more often last year was whenever I tried it out, the resolution quality was a lot lower than I'd like to do. Like, I don't like to put out stuff that looks like it's a lower quality than other products. And so my neighbor, he's a cable man. And so I hit him up the other day. And I hit him up the other day. I was like, yo, I'm told that the resolution will increase on my streaming if I just connect it to the router. What kind of cord should I get? And he said, the kind I'm going to make you. The kind I'm going to make you, Justin. I have to get to the shop on Monday, but I'll make the right cord, the right cable, so you'll be able to do your thing. So hopefully, hopefully this cord works out and the resolution quality will improve going forward too. It's all about baby steps. You got to make progress. And shout out to my neighbor, Rick, for being, he floated my TV too. So, it's good to have a cable guy in your building. All right. That's today's episode of the Company Man Show. Let me know what you guys think about in the comments section. It's all happening.
Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening.